6:31, and with us this evening is Patrick Knight, Mike Roth, Craig Schulte, Ben Peters, myself, and Michael Gary.
Yep.
Kim Dunsmore is there, and there is Chris Hood, our city attorney, along with some other guests that will join us later on. So we are all set.
Yay.
First off, open forum. Is anyone here for open forum? Okay, everyone looks preoccupied. I'm going to assume the answer is no.
All right.
All right, thank you. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda and meeting minutes and payment of bills. Any additions or changes to that agenda?
Should we add the, yeah,
We want to move the second reading ordinance up to first thing.
okay.
Okay.
And then add that coastal.
Yeah. And then Tracy's going to go through a...
That sounds good.
And I'll do that
Right.
after, you know, all these, let all of our guests get taken care of, and then we'll do the coastal thing.
Perfect.
And wasn't there something you sent us as well?
It's on the agenda.
It's already in there, okay.
So motion to approve the consent agenda with said amendments.
I'll second that.
Anything further? Anything else? No? All in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye, okay, and with that, we are done with the consent agenda. Next up, North House Folk School.
Nope, second reading.
Oh, sorry. I need to get that for one, thank you.
That's all right.
Planning and zoning for the
Second reading.
rezone on R1 for, in the business park. Do we need to look
Make a
through that
motion?
again?
No, I don't think so.
Nope,
Something
just a
changed.
second reading, I believe.
Yeah, I think we all.
Does anyone have any?
Any further thoughts? I mean, I seem pretty clear. Did you, Miss Mayor? Did you have some thoughts?
Oh,
That you-
I was, no, I'm sorry,
okay.
I'm just trying to, there we are. I just wanted to pull it up
I
before
see.
we,
Well, I would make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-05, the rezone section of the BDA to R1.
right, which makes that residential for those two blocks that are directly, well, pretty much directly across from the sheriff's office, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Much, okay, just so everyone in the listening audience has some sense of what we're talking about.
I will second that motion.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and with that, it's unanimous, and there we go. Now it is North House, and we're looking at that agreement and then some landscaping on the property. So is that, was in front of planning and zoning?
No.
No, okay,
No.
all right. I didn't
No.
know if you wanted to introduce that part of it or not.
That was
We had all the
not us.
materials and everything on that, and the mapping of it.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming that the sewer piece is just a necessity?
I'm sure you all spent hours and hours digging through that contract.
I did read it, if that counts.
It does. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you for doing that. If you remember when North House presented plans for their land use permit for the new building that they're currently constructing, it included the idea of having a connection between that building and the building directly to the south. That, I don't know, do you have a name for that connection? I've called it 3 or 4 different things. A bridge, a covered walkway.
Bridge, okay.
And it will be located on top of some existing utilities, which would make it somewhat inconvenient to have to fix them if we had to. Typically, with those types of utility lines, we have an easement in favor of the city that allows us to enter somebody's property and make emergency repairs if required. And in this case, that'll be harder, and so we needed to come up with a way to transfer some of that responsibility onto North House so that they were able to move forward with their building project. And that's what we have here. What makes it more complicated is there's a third party involved because that service line also connects to neighboring property in Angry Trout. And so you'll see the contract includes them as well. Because they are also offering some rights to North House to allow the construction of that bridge. And we had a great opportunity also to work with North House's staff and actually just confirm everything we think we know about where those service lines are, what they connect to, and which buildings are going into which pipes, which is nice. All that is included, although I think we have a little more work to do on the exhibits to make them recordable.
Okay.
We know everything we need to know, and the language in the contract is the language that everybody's agreed to. So at this point, we're just asking the council to also agree to this contract, and then we'll move forward and have a bridge.
Alrighty, would anybody like to make a motion for is it easiest to say the shared sewer lateral agreement? Is that the best way to explain it?
Sure.
Alright.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the shared sewer lateral agreement.
Second,
I'd second that.
any further discussion, questions?
No?
No? Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alright. Was there any action on the landscaping other than awareness?
Yeah, there's action. I don't know how much we talked about this earlier on in the conversation about your building as well, but there, included in the plans was some proposed landscaping, some improvements to the pathway, and potentially some stormwater improvements that were all drawn on the piece of property that they leased from the city. So according to our lease, those are possible if you give them permission to do them. That's the action that we're looking for.
Yeah, well, there was some prior conversation in the past
Yeah.
about some need for that.
Yeah, I think when we first started looking at it, yeah.
Mhm.
So we've got some representatives here that can talk about that.
Yeah, so Greg?
I'm Joe, Facilities Director at North House.
And I'm Carol Borger.
And when we came last time, we said we'd just like permission to excavate, and we'll put it back the way it was. Simple place to begin. But now we're turning to this important conversation, and there's three kind of pieces. One, we would love for there to be, for us to have permission to provide public access across the city-owned parcel with hardscaping. You know, part of our work is making the harbor more accessible, and so there's going to be a pathway, paved pathway behind the building, and we'd love for that to come across and connect into the commons or the open space on the main campus. And so that would involve, on the map that you see there, what is named actually two, enhanced / hard surface corridor along the north end of the red building. So, and second thing, obviously, is we assume you would like that landscaped again. And our vision is that it's much like it was. For sure, a garden. Conceivably, there's a timbered stair that comes back down into that space, but again, this is why we're here. And then there's a question of stormwater. I think the first two are the thing that we're most anxious to talk about tonight. And Mike has some thoughts for sure about stormwater too that we want to share.
I don't know if you want to jump right into that, or if we should just take care of these two quick and then talk about the future.
The stormwater part?
The landscaping and the paving of the pathway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I'm looking at the map now, so the paving is happening where?
Okay, so if you look at the building,
Mhm.
which is highlighted in yellow.
Yep.
And then the rectangle that is down and to the left from that is what I call the red building. It's red, it's on campus, right?
Yeah.
And so the pathway would go behind or below the yellow building, going east to west, and it would go across and connects to what many people think of as the main entrance to campus, kind of the driveway and sidewalk that comes along,
I see.
going right in
Okay.
front of,
Yeah.
there's, if you can picture it, there's a bunch of firewood stacked there, and it would run right through there. It's a very public corridor, both for North House students, but also for visitors, people who are moving along the highway or along the harbor. And so, and inside the new building, there's going to be an elevator, so this is relatively essential to making campus physically much more accessible to people, because people who've come down, less mobile, in icy conditions, want to be able to then move down to the harbor. They can come out and move on a hard surface, either east towards Angry Trout or west onto the main campus and down to the harbor. So I think that's where the public corridor is that we'd like to kind of provide hard surface access on. And, you know, maybe paving bricks, maybe it's asphalt. The exact surface is going to in part depend on costs, managing the cost of the project.
Sure.
Anything to add?
Okay.
No? That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was it, something else you wanted out of, I mean, I
And so-
get the landscaping part on the hillside again, you'd want
Yeah.
to landscape
Yeah, that makes sense.
so
Yeah.
Right.
that's
And
fine.
the one other piece, the third piece, which part of the plan is also managing stormwater, so that we're making sure the water that goes into the harbor is treated, and there's going to be a catchment basin and things like that built in. And the little black dots that are kind of below the right side of the yellow square, those are 2 spots where we gather stormwater. One idea then is that we actually extend that stormwater pipe to the west, that's the red dashed line, and that we put another collection point, either on the very western edge of our property, or conceivably onto the city property. In the opinions of LHB, the best place to put that is on city-owned property, because then we're putting those catchment things as far apart as possible. But Mike has noted, it's interesting to have a stormwater pipe crossing a property line. So, you know, is it easier just to keep it on our property? And that's obviously why, again, getting some reflection or ideas, reactions from you. Probably it's a project we won't do until next spring. So there's room for conversation. We're not trying to rush things, but want to make sure this is, you know, on the table.
Okay.
And I think what it'll take is a similar type of agreement to the one you just approved.
Okay.
Because we're talking about, it makes sense to everybody in the room today. If for some reason that's 2 different property owners in the future, that stormwater pipe is kind of a permanent fixture. It can't really be moved very easily, or just have to think about that. Or if there's water that's being created on one person's property that's designed to go on to another, and there's a problem with the pipe on the other person's property. Just all those sorts of things just need to be sorted out. It's not something that's hard to do. It might be complicated, but the question is, should we do that work, I think, tonight, is what we're asking you. Is there any reason why we shouldn't, or shall I get talking to Chris about coming up with our next agreement?
As far as doing the work, you mean figuring out what would be the best way to accomplish this?
Not
No.
the engineering, because I think LHP's already told us this is what makes sense based on
Okay.
the current use and the planned use of the campus. So now it's just the legal side of it, and how do we make this agreement make sense for everybody?
Oh, utilizing the thought of having the pipe?
Yeah, if the pipe's going to be there and it's going to be on both, well, 2 seemingly
Right.
separate properties and yet not,
Okay,
Um,
then, yeah.
do we want them to do the legal work?
Because I thought we just said that there's time to think still about what would be the best way to do this. So I thought maybe you were still contemplating if the
Oh.
pipe was so that's where I guess I
Oh,
got
Yeah,
okay.
well,
Gotcha.
if we decide the legal part's too complicated, there's options engineering-wise to do it different, so we don't have to have an agreement, but.
But
I
can we
don't
go with
think-
this at least is the best that we, or potentially the best idea?
I don't know if I call it the best.
Okay,
It's definitely what
accomplishes
our
the
city
task.
engineer
Okay,
designed
all
on their
right.
behalf for this property, thinking about the way that they're building it out, so.
Okay.
I don't think you're gonna get a different best idea from somebody, but.
Okay, gotcha.
Maybe a simpler one.
All right. So
Okay.
the other piece that still we really don't know completely is once Chris has an opportunity to review this, if this is a good idea, work, you know, for all the things you just mentioned, is that it?
Yeah, I'm sure he'll,
Okay.
we haven't talked about it at all, so I don't want to put you on the spot, Chris, but
Okay.
it's just a question of, he and I need to confer about what's the right way to put this deal together.
So,
then-
Well, and
I'm sorry, so we
Go ahead.
we could approve the request for landscaping in this hard surface corridor without
Yeah.
dealing with stormwater tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And I mean,
think that would be my preference.
Yeah, well, no, I guess the way that well, okay, I mean, we
Well, the stormwater
certainly
is-
don't have to. But
It's
just,
proposed to be in that hard surface area, so, right?
well, it looks like it could be there, or it
I mean,
could be.
that's what I'm seeing, and so
Oh.
you're not gonna wanna do that hard surface area until
And it won't be done
until what we're
next
doing,
spring
we know what we're
anyway.
doing with that stormwater.
We're not going to do any hard surface until the construction is
Right.
done. That'll be next spring
Yeah.
sometime.
And the
So we-
stormwater is done.
And the stormwater will be in, you're right, Craig. I
Right.
mean, we'll do that first,
Yeah,
so.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can still talk about it.
Yeah, so then we can,
Approve the landscaping and the hard surface for sure, and I guess we'll continue our, well, sorry, continue
No,
the
you-
conversation.
it's fine.
On-
This is gonna, like, I'm asking the obvious, but I'm assuming, like, the water deal has it been a problem right now? Like, is it a known thing or just something you're trying to fix because now you have the opportunity to fix it, kind of? Or has it always been like an issue for you on that little hillside? and it
I would
kinda
say
pulls-
there's not actually a lot of issue
Because it's not gravel.
because it's all beach rock. And that said, how the nature of water movement changes when there's, a permeable surface behind that building, it's just, it's a more public corridor. It's not all gravel anymore because we're making it more traversable for humans. And so
Yeah.
how do you manage that? That's,
Water runoff from the roof of your building.
Yeah, it's a lot more roof too. It's just a lot more hard surface.
Where does that stormwater go out of this area? Does it go
Great.
down to that pump for the
It-
city? Does it go
It goes
down?
right into the harbor.
yeah, so
Oh.
it'll go south. If you see the two black dots,
Yeah.
that first black dot is a catchment, and then the second is, and then there's a basin there that is a settling basin. So the water will go in and settle, and we can, and obviously any debris that captures there, we can clean out on a regular basis, and then the clear water or treated water then goes down the pipe to the lake. Just like the water used to come off the highway, completely untreated and came out a pipe right there by our docks. I don't know if you can, there's a big silver pipe that goes into the water, same exact location.
Are you planning on reusing it?
Yes. Yeah, so we're not, why mess with the shoreline if we don't have to?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Okay.
is that okay to let that sit so everyone can think and plan if it's not an immediate? And it doesn't screw up the rest of your planning? Is
Sure,
that-
and we just like, I think the key thing for us to know is you're comfortable with us moving forward with the landscaping and the pathway, and that we should sort out if there's an agreeable path that we can be on together for the stormwater, or not.
Right.
If not, well, we have a path forward regardless.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because
Well, I
we're going
mean-
to have to do something about that water one way or another.
Yeah.
Or not. Well, okay, maybe that's a different discussion, but.
Okay. And then you're
Yeah, we
not
might as
even
well.
sure the
It's a great
surface you might
opportunity.
use anyways. It
Okay.
might be a permeable surface, or you'll definitely make it something that no longer can absorb anything. Or you're not sure
Other
yet?
places on campus, we have permeable pavers,
Mhm.
which are wonderful, and they work,
Mm-hmm.
and they're expensive.
Mhm.
So
You're thinking of other things.
So this is part of the project we're still bringing into kind of focus.
Sure.
And so,
Got
if we can use permeable pavers, some of the problem maybe becomes simpler.
Mhm.
If
But
we
not
don't,
totally.
then
Right.
we're gonna need to do something.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well.
Okay. Does that give you guys time to think about or talk through part of this too?
Okay.
All right?
You could do the motion part, though. Just
Okay, I would make a
decision.
motion to approve the landscaping and the hard surface.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, any further questions or discussion? No?
No,
All
that's
right,
true.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, you're all set then, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you
All
Tuesday.
right.
Tuesday.
So are we doing City Hall now? Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yep, 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 there we go. I was cranking my neck trying to look at those drawings.
I just turned my computer because I was like,
Yeah.
Well, let's start with the big piece, shall we? We received 2 proposals for construction manager services, 2 good proposals, which was nice to see and absolutely necessary at the same time. We sent out, I'll take another step back. Part of the process that's required by the state is the creation of a review committee, which you did, which was Tracy, myself, and Anton Moody. the three of us reviewed the two proposals, and I sent out a summary of our thoughts about it and our recommendation. The two proposals came from McGough and from Gardner Builders. Our recommendation is that we select McGough to work with as construction manager. To sum up, I think, all of our thoughts and the comments, they both had strong qualifications. Some of the projects that Gardner showed us were more remodeling than ground-up construction. They had a lot more of that in their proposal, and that's a little less apropos to think about, but they both had good teams, but we've got personal experience with all of the folks that McGough is talking about bringing up here. And then lastly, the fee percentage that they're proposing, Gardner was going to charge 2.75 and McGough's proposing 2.4. So
That kind of helps.
that's our recommendation. I think it'd be nice if that makes sense to folks, that the council take some action on that.
So do we just move to approve that, or do we, what is our options at that?
Yes, some kind of
juncture?
official
Yeah. what is that?
designation. There'll still need to be a contract
Yeah.
that will develop and have you approve as well with McGough. We don't need to do that tonight,
Okay.
but some sort of official selection of them would be appropriate.
Did anyone have any other questions or
Oh, yeah.
things you're thinking about at all?
No, I mean, it made sense, so I trust these guys.
It's the same on-site manager or supervisor again from the Public Works garage, and
When they did the Public Works garage, they did a maximum price. Is that going to be part of the?
Yep,
it's the exact same structure.
called construction manager at risk, which means we'll negotiate a guaranteed maximum price. That'll be part of our contract. They'll be responsible for seeking out bids from the subs. They'll create all the different subcontracts, dividing it up based on their expertise, and they have firms that they qualify to work with them and that they've got experience with, and they'll select the qualified but lowest cost firms to work with. They'll self-perform some of the work. They talked about that in their proposal. They did that at the Public Works garage as well, but mostly not. And with the Public Works garage anyway, they came in under that guaranteed maximum price. So,
So,
And if there were any major issues, I've certainly forgotten them. I don't think there were any huge snafus that I remember.
in terms of a project of that scope, it was as good of one as I've ever worked on. They had a lot of issues that they dealt with, but I don't know that any of them became major.
Or became our
Dirt.
problems.
Yeah.
Dirt work, right?
But they handled it.
They handled it, yeah.
That's the main thing, you know. So. Any other questions or thoughts? Okay.
Well, I would put a motion forward to accept the McGough proposal, or I guess to accept the committee's recommendations to
Yeah.
hire McGough Construction.
Okay, second on that?
I would second that.
All right, any further discussion or questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, with that, we are good to go on that part of it.
Great. Now we've got a whole team of folks here to talk about the next couple of issues. First off is an important decision we need to make. What are we going to use as the source of energy for our heating system? An electric boiler or a geothermal well field? So who wants to take this one first?
Is this Jacob?
Well, he's going to help us with the how we're going to pay for it question.
Okay.
Do you want to look at the pretty pictures first, or do you want to?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
I was going to save the
Pictures.
pictures for last.
What?
What?
Fine.
No!
We got work first, then pretty pictures.
There's not pretty pictures about our
Whatever
heating
happened to-
system?
Guaranteed low.
No.
Guaranteed lowest price.
All right, what
It
do
used
we
to be
talk
that
about
way.
first?
Yes, what's the spinach?
Oh, I'm spinach.
Well, squash? I don't know.
I can be spinach. So I can jump in. So at the last time we were in front of you, we were talking about, and I'm gonna see if I can, this is a new setup for me, so I'm gonna see if I can present. Can you see the spreadsheet?
It's thinking.
Almost.
There we
There it
go.
is.
All right, so this should look familiar. This is what I presented in our last meeting. And it essentially is illustrating that the added cost for doing the geothermal system, the ground source system, is $300,000. And we went back and tried to confirm and make sure those numbers were, because I put those together like the morning of or the day before, and we went back and were able to validate that those are still as good a numbers as we can get right now until we get closer to, using the construction documents and getting more finalized prices as they start preparing a maximum price. So assuming it's 300,000, and we also in this one assumed that you wouldn't use tax exempt bonds for any of the related expenses, which then maximizes or gets your credit percent up to 40%, which gets you a credit of close to 280,000. So if you do all the math on that, your net cost of that ground source heat pump system is around 20,000. And Mike asked a question yesterday or the day before, what's the payback on that? And we could do some analysis and put that together. We just couldn't do it before this meeting. But intuitively, the payback is relatively quick on $20,000 on using the ground source. So that's basically what we know in terms of the cost and the added cost of the ground source. I have invited, this is sort of, I'm gonna stop sharing this for a minute if that's okay. Get back to where I can see. So the other question is, how real is this? Because what we were talking about and what I shared is that this program coming through the IRA looks great, and it looks like a really important source of funding for lots of clients, and especially it opens up the door to a municipality to get this money back. But I couldn't explain exactly what that's going to look like because it hasn't happened. Nobody's gotten that check yet. But I do know a person who knows a lot more than I do, and that's Jacob Goldman, who is under the alias of Charles R. Golding, it looks like here. But Jacob is the vice president at Energy Tax Savers, and we've been working with Jacob for a long time, many years, helping us on our 179D projects. And Jacob has been literally traveling the country educating people about all of this, and it's literally changing every week, and he's keeping up with those changes and is trying his best to explain what's going on. So despite his very busy schedule, he was kind enough to join us and can help answer some questions. So maybe I would just, if it's okay, I'll just throw one out. Jacob, so right now we're at a decision point whether or not the city would invest in this geothermal. If they choose to do that, and we're just about to finish construction documents, we would start construction in the spring of 2024. What does this look like? How do they go about getting their money, and how sure are you that they could get money? That 40% that I put up there.
So guidance has come out specifically on these particular incentives, the 30% plus the 10%, the guidance is very clear. That is, as final guidance as there is. There's forms that have been created for how you actually get the credit. The process to get the elected pay, that's what they call it, elected pay. The process to get the elected pay is once your project is done, you pre-file. The things that haven't been created yet, sometime in the next month or so, IRS is going to create a pre-filing platform. And so sometime November, December, we're going to be putting our first projects into the pre-filing platform. That's only after projects have been completed. So the project has to be done. You then pre-file for the credit. So you're not pre-filing your project, you're pre-filing for the credit. Your project completes, you pre-file, you get a registration number, and then the registration number gets inputted into your filing. And, probably something like 6 or 8 weeks after you file your tax return, you'll get a check in the mail, that elective pay, for the amounts that you showed on that spreadsheet. Assuming your costs are the exact costs, it'll be 40%. The 30% is locked in, and the 10% energy community is locked in as well. Those are actual, that part of the code is fully defined. And the forms already exist for the actual filing. The one thing that's missing right now is the pre-filing platform, which is going to open up in a month or so, from what we hear from IRS.
But Jacob, what I'm hearing you say is that for the city of Grand Marais to pre-file, they wouldn't actually even do that until the construction's complete?
That's correct. You don't pre-file until the construction is completed. We need a project cost. The actual project cost is part of the elements of filing. And so you can't do that until your project is done.
So this is really a matter of finishing up some mechanicals to make it work, and it's well beyond being a victim of any political winds.
Well, this is tax law. So the legislation right this second is good till 2035 for ground source. There's legislation currently written until 2035. There's been this is elective pay, for not-for-profits and state and local governments. But for commercial buildings, there's been a ground source tax credit for Republican administrations and Democratic administrations. It's been there for years. It was a 10% credit. Now we have a much larger 40% opportunity for your project. So is it possible that a different administration has a different view and decides to overturn everything? Yes, but what I would tell you is, Water Furnace, who makes ground source, is from Indiana. There's a Climate Masters in Oklahoma. They basically, Congress people, when they're not in power, they can rattle their cages and say anything they want. But if they become in power, they're going to have to talk to the employees of Climate Master and the employees of Water Furnace and tell them, you know what, we're going to get rid of the incentives that we created that really grew your businesses over the last 2 years or 3 years. And so I think it's a lot harder proposition to, when you're actually in power, to overturn something like this that is giving so many jobs to people here in the United States. But anything's possible, yes. I will admit there's always a possibility that some future Congress and future president could overturn something like this.
Sure. I only ask because this IRA is touching just so many areas and so many things. Just wanted to get a feel for it. And yeah, I get what you're saying. Sometimes, there always is that little back end, and it sounds fairly well concrete and actionable, that it wouldn't just totally change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, what I can tell you is, I don't know what your timeline is on your project, but obviously you can't have a new Congress and a new president until 2025. So if there's any way to complete your project in 2024, then you would be in the clear. You'd have the credit. If your project does go into 2025, then, depends on how the elections go, and I still don't think they would overturn it. You know, I was just talking about ground source, but the second this came out, there was construction starting on billion-dollar solar fabrication facilities in Alabama and in Nevada. You know, these are all things happening because of this Inflation Reduction Act. So they would have to go back to these huge employers and tell them, you know what, guess what, we're not going to give out these credits anymore. You might as well close your fab that you're creating. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, thank you.
Be easier for them to just say, we're not going to give it to nonprofits and government.
It's a major portion of, you know, the incentive and why these fabs can, you know, grow and, you know, on the solar side, it's a portion of the marketplace.
Yeah.
You could do the same project with like a power purchase agreement or something like that, which would complicate the finances, but potentially if they got rid of not-for-profits and got rid of state and local governments, there are other mechanisms potentially to circumvent that, so somebody gets a tax incentive. So I don't think that actually is something they'd be looking at. But you know what? It's politics, and so as you can see, Washington is quite dysfunctional at this time, and so anything could potentially happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Jacob?
Anyone?
Thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is we're seeing, like, I presented at a GEO conference, and the presenter before me, they said that the name of the presentation was worst to first, saying that they were the most expensive first cost, and now maybe they're the least expensive first cost. And we put lifetime cost analysis. When we're doing projects at schools and we're doing at city level and state level, you know, these are buildings that are used for 50 years. You know, this is permanent energy savings that you'll have for 50 years. So yes, you want to justify, you want to do a payback analysis, you want to see these things. But at the end of the day, over the next 50 years, I can guarantee you the ground source project is going to be run at a much cheaper level than any conventional equipment would run.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's really true. It'll be a long time before we'll be having this conversation. Well, we won't be having this conversation.
No.
The
That's
city
right.
has this conversation again.
Yes, that would be the kids.
Yeah.
So I have a question. On the tax exempt bond part, is that for the entire project or just for the geothermal?
So the haircut for tax exempt bond usage is a haircut related to project costs spent with a tax exempt bond on the geothermal. So if you had a methodology and you'd have to do it very formally, if you had a methodology to do tax exempt bond for this portion of the project and no tax exempt bond for the geothermal portion of the project, you could circumvent the 15% haircut.
And we do, we're planning on paying cash for a lot of this project. So there won't be any bond for, and certainly more than the 660,000 total costs we're throwing in on this estimate, so.
Okay.
And you'd want to do it very formally to show that this check came from a bond and it went over here, and this check came from cash and it went over here. You know, you'd want to do it very formally.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So one thing, if I could, and hopefully this won't be awkward for you, Jacob, but as I was talking to Jacob and I was asking him about all of these questions, and I was literally asking him, how do we, like, we haven't done this before, how do we get through, you talk about, you know, registering a project and whatever those steps are. And Jacob would, for a project of this size, so it's something to think about if you would Jacob, or maybe you could describe, Jacob, what you could do to help, to take the city from where they are today to actually getting that check. And you do it for a fee, and how that would work, if that's of interest. Because I just think, I don't think we can just automatically assume it's gonna happen. Someone's gonna have to shepherd that process.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. For a fee that we take you from this point, which, on some of our other projects, we are actually working with the designers to make sure the designs meet all the requirements in order to qualify. So we're early on in projects where we help the designers ensure that their decision-making processes does not affect the tax credit. This project automatically qualifies for the 30% because of its size, but there's other projects that have to meet prevailing wage and apprenticeship requirements. So in those particular cases, we also train the contractors to make sure that they're meeting all the requirements for prevailing wage and apprenticeship. We do all the calculations and create all the paperwork for the pre-filing, we create all the paperwork for the filing, and then on top of it, our fixed fee includes audit assistance. So in the event of an IRS audit, which only happens 1% of the time, we come in, answer all questions the auditor might have, as well as in the event the audit doesn't go well, which happens 1% of the 1%, we are all the way through to appeals to lock down these incentives. So our fixed fee covers you from design all the way to audit support and appeal support, and creating all the paperwork that's required in order to actually get the check at the end of the day.
And I don't know if I mentioned it, but your fee is $8,000 which is the smallest fee you would do?
Yeah, at this size project, we'd be at the minimum fee, which for us is $8,000.
So I just want to put that out there, so when I go back to my chart, we probably, in fairness, would want to stack that 8,000, so it's from 20 to 28, based on the numbers we have right at this moment, in terms of, unless, obviously Jacob's not the only person out there that's probably doing this, and there's all those other options, but I know I don't have any experience in getting you through that process.
Frankly, I inflated the number up to about 50 in my head before I stopped adding what ifs. So I took Mike's 20 and turned it into 50. I still think this is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't need to make that decision today. I just wanted to I want to make sure you understand the full picture if you decide to go with the geothermal, that there are some of these other components. And we're trying to bring, just because we've worked with Jacob long enough to know that how helpful he is, and the fact that he's going all over the country teaching people about all of this, that we thought it might be a good solution to get us where we need to get.
Thank you. I have one question, which I think I asked last time, but I know I don't remember. This is a vertical, right, for this heat system? Right,
That's
the
my
well
understanding,
field?
yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
going straight down, right?
Yeah.
And does the fact that we're going straight down into water and just a bunch more rock, we asked this, didn't we? I got the answer, it's okay. Now the more I ask it, I think I did last time.
I've asked it more than once myself. I'm going to
Okay.
ask it again once or twice too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, me
To
too.
make you feel better, I'm asking the same thing. I'm like, are we sure this is cool? And everyone I talk to says, we're good. This is happening on the North Shore. It's similar kind of locales. And we'll keep asking those questions, and as we start getting to where we're not just theorizing, that we're literally talking to the installers and all of that, we'll make sure that we're all good.
Okay, because we all know what's below here, and we're really below the surrounding harbor here.
Yes.
It's solid rock that once you put a hole in it will be full of water, which I think is kind of what you need to make this work. So
Right.
that part, it starts to make sense. What I wonder is, what do you have to do as much? Because there's all this. Anyway, the other side of that coin is, okay, what if we go through these exercises and realize this isn't going to work? at some point, and then how do we backtrack? And so we haven't, I mean, Brandy, you said you haven't actually gone through the full exercise of sizing out the equipment, but so far there is a backup plan that we can put an electric boiler in the building that we've designed if we need to.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But we are at that point. We need to move forward. We need to pick a path on the mechanical system.
So you'd like us to make a decision?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
All right.
I would vote for the geothermal myself, but
Would you like to make a motion for that?
I would make that motion to vote for the geothermal.
Would anyone like to second that motion?
We can have more discussion too, I just,
Yeah,
The
I'll
dollars
second,
just
I'll
seem-
second the motion for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more questions or thoughts?
I
Boy,
don't.
Aaron's
No?
wishing he didn't miss tonight. This has been busy.
No, I don't have any questions. I think that tax credit makes a lot of sense and is very helpful in
Well-
making that decision.
yeah, and then the dollars, I mean, to make back the 20 or 28, it's like.
Or 50 or
50.
whatever, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like.
Over
that-
70 years of, yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see the analysis just because
Yeah.
I think it's important, and we're going to have to do something, I think, just to communicate about this project, this piece of it even. But just thinking about this building and what we spend on heat, it wouldn't take many years to pay that back.
What's the life of these systems, though?
Yeah.
You know, as far as the equipment goes, I mean, what if we have to replace this in 15 years, right? And the credits are no longer there. What are we doing?
Yeah, what?
Well, the wells are the expensive part,
Right.
so we don't have to replace those. I don't know, are any of them under the building? We probably can't replace those. I hope not.
No, they'd be in the parking lot.
There would just be a Tesla parked over the top of them charging.
We'll jack that out of the way.
So, I mean, the rest of the system is pumps and piping, right?
Yep.
And that, they won't last
And the heat pump.
50 years, but
Okay. But those
All of a sudden, I'm
are,
looking at Brandy, and neither of us are the, mechanical.
I know we're not the mechanical people.
You came up with a good question there, and I can't answer on the spot.
well, put it on your list.
What I hear anecdotally is the wells are 50, 60, even 100-year items. And, HVAC equipment needs replacing. And so if you're on a schedule of 20-year replacing your HVAC equipment, that might be around the time frame that you'd have to change out your heat pumps, your air handlers, things like that. But it wouldn't matter this is not like anything more expensive or specialty. The big expense, the reason this is so much more expensive is mainly the drilling and the boreholes, and those are, easily 50, 60, and, we've heard some geo people talking 100-year.
Okay.
okay, that makes sense. Because then it gets back to like they're saying something we might have to do either way.
Well, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So then
yeah.
you're sort of neutral or net on that part of it.
Right.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
I have a question. Craig, looked like you were doing some math.
No, I was just thinking, what's, when you're talking about this rebate, 30 plus 10, so 40%,
You're looking for of what, aren't you?
40% of what? Yeah.
And
You got 300,000 up there, 40% of 300 is not
It's-
279.
But it's everything that's associated with the heating system. And so there's another 300,000, 360,000
So
that you have to have either with the electric boiler or with the geothermal. And so it's really 660-some thousand that we're
Yeah, if you
getting
look
there.
at the,
Well, that's 666, okay.
Yeah.
Total construction value, okay.
And that's where the 40% is out of.
Yeah.
I was just looking at that added cost of 300,000, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a $700,000 system, roughly. Okay. Now, I would imagine a system like this, you need water volume of some type. Is that predicated then on how many wells you need, or do you do one well to see what kind of water volume you have, or how does that work? Like if you
That's
get in.
again, where Mike and I are not the ones to answer.
Oh, like if you get into solar, like if I've had borings like on property that I've owned over town here.
Yeah.
That they needed to do some sampling and they drilled some holes and they didn't get any water, so they had to sit and wait. They had to sit.
Mike, do you know if this is a closed loop or an open loop system?
I think it's closed.
Yeah, so closed loop system doesn't, you're just dipping, a loop
Right.
into the well.
Yeah.
And transferring energy, so you're not pulling water really, you're not
reusing.
using the well
okay.
water. It's simply using the ground itself to heat and cool.
Okay. You're circulating it through the, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Raising the temperature.
I don't know exactly what they put in the pipes, but
It's usually glycol or something.
yeah, they're
Right.
using the heat of the earth or the rock or the water that the wells are in.
Okay.
Okay.
Because once you get far enough down, it's 50 degrees, whatever.
Right.
As you get closer
This
down
was
to
a week
hell,
from
it
now.
gets
I'm
warmer.
talking like such an expert, because I'm going on a tour next Tuesday of a pretty expansive system in St. Paul, because I want to ask a lot of these questions, so I'm trying to learn more.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor of a new heat pump?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye? All right. That would make all of us.
Thumbs up.
Look, we made a
Time for the pretty
decision.
pictures.
Now we get our pictures, no more spinach. Perfect.
Yeah, we just said yes so we could see the pictures.
That's really the
Right.
truth.
It was a good strategy, I guess. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That means I gotta show pictures then.
Yeah.
Now I gotta figure out how to share my screen. Or present. Window, that one.
You got a new system, is that it?
It's our
Well,
system.
we
so-
don't,
Oh.
yeah,
No wonder. Got it.
Sorry.
yeah, we don't use, Google Meets, we use Microsoft Teams.
Ugh,
I know.
I'm a WebEx
I would-
person. And other people like Zoom. But Teams, no way.
I wonder if this is
Yeah.
going to be like email addresses in 20 years where you can age people, you can literally
Yeah.
age them.
Oh, is that Yahoo?
Yeah,
Well,
really.
All right, can you guys see?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, so we had a meeting a few weeks back with City Hall staff and liquor store staff. We kind of presented some different elevation, some options for the exterior materials and interior materials. Today, we're just going to take a look at the exterior.
I'm gonna drop off if that's okay.
Yep. You don't want to see the pretty pictures?
Bye, Charles.
Thank you,
Jacob
Jacob.
slash Charles.
Thanks, Jacob. So this is just kind of the elevations of the colors that were selected at the time, a few weeks back. I'm gonna go here. So kind of zooming in on what we've got. City Hall, we've gone with a brick color. This is not exactly the final one, but it's going to be something similar. In the grayish tones, when we were up there and presented, we went with a really dark brick, and it looks really nice until somebody pointed out about the seagulls and the seagull poop that gets stuck on the black building that is in town somewhere, and then we happen to drive by it and see it, like, yeah, that's an issue, so we're gonna lighten that up a little bit and get it, so the seagull poop is not as noticeable on the brick part of the building. We've got the precast base all the way around, both liquor store and City Hall side. And then we've got metal wall panels. The blue was selected to go on the liquor store to kind of make it pop a little bit more. And then we've selected just kind of a gray tone metal panel that'll be the back of the City Hall on the parking lot side. And then we're going with a fiber cement panel in a wood tone, that's at the corners of the liquor store and then the front entry, of the city hall too. Let me get that back to here, so you can kind of see if we zoom in a little. We've got the wood on the ends. I just threw on a big sign. We don't have a name for the liquor store yet, but I hope it's better than just liquor store. And then, you know, the front of the building, then we've got, you know, the wood on the corner, the blue metal, and then we get the wood with the gray brick and the precast all the way across. We did change the windows to operable, and we added a couple more in a couple rooms back on this side. And then we just go to kind of some 3D views.
As soon as we get
From
that
each of the
spinning beer
corners.
can going, then I'll be really excited.
Yeah, so the spinning beer can, that's coming, right?
Yep,
Maybe.
yep, we gotta sell things.
Weren't they having an issue getting that ordered? 'Cause that's a
Right,
long lead
yeah,
time,
that's a
right?
tough one to get, yeah.
That's okay,
We got it, don't
we
worry.
got local people who make those things.
I'll build it for you. Just
Yeah,
give me a little budget.
We need a pickled herring. Emphasis on pickled.
That's the name of the liquor store, the
Pickled
pickled herring.
we like that.
Oh,
Might have to ask Sid if he
Yeah, we gotta use
has
that
the
one.
rights to that one.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll go with the old name, the Powerhouse, yeah.
We like that. We'll talk about that, the powerhouse, and then when we put the dispensary across the street, we're gonna call it the Joint Powers. With the county,
Yes.
right?
With the county, yeah, we'll have to think about that one.
Oh,
And all of
you
us
want another
nerds,
contract with the
you
county?
know, the government nerds will laugh, and everybody else will be like.
oh,
And then they can be a, you know, spinning joint
Oh,
with their beer can.
right.
You know,
That's,
it
is that
only
part of this
gets-
project?
Well, then we'll be going to wood heat, so we have smoke instead of geothermal.
Oh, right. Oh, these electeds, what do you do?
What do you do?
Any questions, comments on materials?
It's pretty.
is this, you know, I think you're right, blue pops. But how, is this really going to pop? Because I'm not kidding around when I say we need to sell liquor, and this is
Yeah.
a retail, and it doesn't need to look like City Hall. It needs to look
Right.
like a store that people realize what it is, and you're absolutely right, we need something besides liquor store as signage.
Yeah.
But,
Well, it's
and
gonna have
I'm
to be-
not just even kidding around about the beer can thing, but, you know, the signs can't look the same, or it just might as well say public library on it.
Yeah.
So that blue has to be standout, or we need something that is.
I think
I
and, not or. Like, the blue is nice,
Mhm.
and we need some signs that are
Yes.
eye-catching and
Yeah.
well-lit.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't love the blue. I think it, to me, and I don't want to be insulting, but it looks like another shipping container in town.
Oh, there's that.
I do like the blue, but I hear what you're saying.
I actually kind of liked those when they were blue.
Oh,
All right.
so is it all blue or just this blue? Like aquamarine? I
don't
mean,
know.
okay.
That's just my first.
Sure. Were there any other colors you'd popped in at some point, Brandy? Or no?
There's lots of different colors.
I would imagine.
With the ones we showed before, we kind of were keeping, we had the colors on the corners. For the other ones we presented, there's lots of different colors if you wanted to look at a different color than the blue. I mean, there's the green, that's out on Public Works, you've got a green roof out there. I mean, you can get any color you want.
I just didn't know if you
Yeah.
had narrowed down it to like three.
We kind of, Doug and I, looking at it, kind of went the blue route. But we're open to, if there's a real, like, don't really like the blue. We just thought a color was kind of the big thing. It was like, we really
Sure.
wanted it
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
A color.
care that much, but it's.
Yeah.
You know. Just an
Got it.
observation.
Imagining the process of color selection.
Oh, for sure.
If we open it up to
Oh,
more
no.
than just what does Brandy think.
That's right.
Really blew our mind
You
in the
pick it.
room.
Yeah.
So that's the
We'll
strategy
send all
we came up
comments
with.
your way.
Yep. As we hired
Yeah.
them to design and
Yeah.
we're just gonna let them.
We could do Swedish blue and yellow. That would,
There you go.
yellow accents around the window, just,
It works for IKEA.
Sure
exactly.
does. The only deals we've got those colors over at the co-op.
The green and the,
Yeah, that there's, everybody wants green around here. I don't know if I would go
Yeah,
with green.
that's, we were trying to avoid that
Yeah.
because we knew there's some others around.
Purple.
Red is another one we looked at. There's a more teal blue that I really like, but it's not everybody's deal.
well, can we see it? Can you put up teal right now? Can we see it?
Yeah.
Are you teasing us? Is that what this is? Wait a minute.
Does your software allow you to quickly pop that in or no?
Not quickly.
Okay. All right,
Oh.
never mind
Only
then.
if you're ordering a Chevy
Yeah.
pickup.
Yeah.
I mean, I could put together some images of some color options if you guys want to take a look. What other colors we would recommend. I'm not going to give you the whole.
No, please don't.
No, no,
We're,
no.
Right, Brandy, I'm assuming this, from a timing perspective,
We have time for
isn't
this.
as critical, right? So
Okay.
there's no harm in showing a couple other
Right.
colors.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, the
Well, not no
color of the
harm.
metal doesn't have to be selected really until,
Just one or two.
you know.
Not a laundry list, maybe just one, maybe two.
Can we do a buffalo plaid? Is that a
You can't
possibility?
do that.
She says we can't have a beer can either.
Yeah, I read that, yeah.
Wait a minute, she said that was on back order.
Right.
Well, we could always hire someone to paint a mural again.
Oh,
Anyways, okay, we
Um,
won't keep you tonight on that one.
no.
For the signage, has there been, or is who's working on coming up with a name, and do you guys have a graphic designer that does your signage?
No,
No.
Patrick?
that's what your job.
Wow.
Probably not. We're gonna find somebody.
Nope.
We'll find
We
somebody.
will.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some sign makers.
We've got, yeah, but the whole
Yeah.
idea of a
I mean,
name.
we're providing right now, we're providing power up here and making sure there's backing to attach any
Okay.
sign to. We didn't put lights on it because we were kind of thinking you'd probably backlight your sign.
Yep.
It tends to make them stand out a little more.
And
So yeah, we're just providing the power and backing to install the sign.
gotcha.
So.
That works.
When you talk about color then too, that's the other thing with, when you're looking at colors, you gotta think about with your signage, like you kinda want whatever graphic you're gonna have on your signage, if it's got color in it, to kinda go along with the building color too, so.
Mhm.
Sure.
No. Building color
So-
first.
Other than that, I did pull up just a furniture plan for reference. Really nothing's changed, other than we took out the multiple bifold doors and just went to one in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that if you need extra space for people back here, you can just open these doors and then they can still feel part of the space.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Mike has seen this, make a little niche in the wall here for your payment drop box.
Perfect,
We
thank
did.
you.
Woo!
We did find a spot for that, told it was very important for you guys to get your checks.
For a while, anyway, when people are
Right.
still using it.
Yeah. A lot of people want to use up their checks,
They
so.
do. We still write checks.
True.
We can install a terminal there after.
Yeah, that's right. We'll switch it over to a terminal.
So that's all I had to show, but yeah, I can put together some color options.
Great.
Just
And,
one, maybe two, not
Yeah,
that,
just a couple, yeah.
Yeah, otherwise we'll get totally overwhelmed.
Wait till you get down
I
the
get
inside.
overwhelmed, so yes.
We
then
gotta
there's
start on
the
the outside
inside.
so we can make decisions on the inside, because they have to work
There
together.
has to be a theme. Gotcha.
We getting beer can wallpaper around here? Or something?
Maybe we can talk to Hams and see if we can get that.
Oh, wouldn't I love to see one of those water?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The signs, those
That
are
was
my
cool.
favorite.
Do you have one, Greg?
What's that?
The Hams, like flowing
What is
water?
that, land of sparkling water?
Yeah.
Sky blue water.
Sky blue.
Sky blue waters, right.
We have
Who's
a
got
sky
all-
blue building.
Who's got all the
Ooh.
Bee Gees signs, I wonder?
Go on eBay and start buying up some old stuff.
Start decorating.
I think we've come to the end of this conversation.
Yeah,
I do
don't.
like the creativity of this council, though.
Oh, I bet.
Sky blue water. We need the bear and.
Yeah. Bear in the
Thanks for
canoe.
joining us.
You're free to go.
Is
Thank
that
you.
everything for tonight?
That is it.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. All right.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Thanks for bringing Jacob along. That's
Yeah.
helpful.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Now. Oh,
So, on that fee or whatever, that $8,000 for that service, this kind of seems like a good one. Like, I don't know.
I'd
like-
do it,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think we should
To take
follow up
someone
with
that's got that expert, I already did.
Okay.
Yeah, I said that sounds good. So, we haven't signed any papers yet, but I agree with that. Like, this is all new, he's an expert. To get access to that kind of money, it seems like a good investment to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
some outside accountability. Yeah, that's good. Awesome. Oh, yeah, you've got.
You're
okay.
up.
So now we're ready for. Now I gotta find where I want my. Where is the screen? Oh, okay. There's the screen. You have to get the camera up, and that must be share screen. Present now. Select window or screen. Can we just say the whole thing? The entire screen. There we go. All right. Allow. And then, let's see what we got here. We have too much. How do I get rid of all these lovely people on here on my screen view?
You'll want to switch to the tab that you were showing, that'll just disappear.
All right, like that one?
Yeah.
Oh, there we are. How about that, would ya? And then
Yeah.
what if I want the PowerPoint
Just click it. and-
instead? There I am.
Yep.
This is, I think what Patrick sent to you.
Yep.
Mhm.
So last Tuesday, I attended by invitation. It was all the mayors around the western side of Lake Superior, obviously the eastern side as well as Canada. And then they wanted to talk about what they do, and this is still somewhat small. But see on Lake Michigan, that's where they've already done these similar projects, and now they're broadening to our area and then over to Lake Huron, and so that's why I kept this slide in. So you can kind of see where they've already done this work. And they give examples of some of the finished projects from that. And then their engineering consulting partner, when they're working on things like erosion issues and things for communities around the lake, that's who they work with, which I believe we work with on other projects, right? In the county?
I don't remember if we have, but I'm certainly familiar with them.
I can't remember if it was our conversations or with Elena Hansel, but their name have come up
Yeah.
from other
Wouldn't
projects.
surprise me at all.
So I left that screen in just to, it's not them that would do any of the engineering or project planning for them. They would hire this consultant, would be who they would work with to do that. So who are they? This work is all centered around the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence River Basin, and they're working at a municipality level. So even though this involves Canadian government, US government at different levels, this particular initiative really works directly with varying municipalities, so of varying sizes, which is how we're getting involved in this potentially. And anything around from helping us economically along there, protecting water, protecting our coastal pieces, those are all the things that they work with, initiatives. And so obviously they've seen just, we're a mini version of what is happening all around the Great Lakes, so our East Harbor issues, just some of the improvements we need to do to our own harbor, those kinds of things. Stormwater is something they work with if there's issues that way, which obviously are big for us, and even how our wastewater treatment would affect the Lake Superior, so all those things fall into projects they've worked on. And this is a little bit better map of that. So they've done what's in gold on Lake Michigan. And then what our project that we would be involved, it's kind of hard to see, but it's that purple area is all of us. And then after that, they're going to be working on those red lined areas. So we're the next set of municipalities that they're going to be working with. This gets small, I know you can't see it, but it's a listing of what all the different projects they spun up for Lake Michigan. And this is small as well, but I thought it was helpful to see all the varying organizations that they're working with. And Minnesota DNR, the tribes, a lot of different research groups around the Great Lakes, Minnesota Sea Grant. There's just a bunch of organizations. And, part of why I think these kinds of things become important to us is that no matter what project we work on, we obviously need funding from other places. And I think every time we do something like that, historic preservation, we work on something like this, we learn something, kind of builds our network as well, and shows our commitment to the lake sitting in front of us. And so I think all of that kind of builds for us, and new partnerships. It's just always good to reach out beyond yourself. So they have a pretty short timeline on this. They want our commitment to ask if we would like to be part of this, to have them put together a project plan, find out what our issues are, but they want that commitment by Monday. And then they come in right away and they start assessments to find out what our issues are, what we need help with. Then they put together a project and do all the tech work, and then provide a roadmap for it, and then they start going out and helping us assist with funding for that
There
piece
you go.
of it. And this particular initiative is being sponsored by, I don't want to say this incorrectly, the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation is the sponsor of this work in our particular area. Okay. And they have the money to help not only get this project plan in place, but potentially to make these projects happen. And in other areas, like NOAA, I think, funded part of Lake Michigan's work. So different sources come. And this always feels really confusing to me. Who are you and what are you in this? And basically they're implementing projects. So they get contracted to implement something like this where the funding's coming from different places and run the projects. So part of what they'll come up with solution-wise would be for solutions that might involve a wetland. Maybe it's a waterfront park or something of that nature, vegetation, or I think might have application maybe for us as the living shorelines.
Or creating some dunes. Oh, sorry. Oh, no, we don't want to do that. That's right. Sorry.
Or stormwater parks, or maybe it's something about, part of what's over there by the co-op and Stone Harbor,
Oh, right. Yeah.
that kind of piece.
It's like
Park.
a dune.
It's not it's not
Yes, it is.
necessarily just like we're gonna dump a bunch of rocks and then say you're done.
You're done. You
Yeah,
look beautiful.
Yeah, it has to, it's more of a nature-based solution as part of what they endorse. So, that's what they're asking for. It's not an ask to
So-
participate in this project. It is not an ask for us. It's not, at this point, an ask for any money out of our budget. They have the funding and they do the rest of the work to assess. It will take, we need to identify key people that they need to meet with and
Mm-hmm.
do all of that portion of it to find out what our needs are, what does our area look like, what are our problems,
Mm-hmm.
who are we? Obviously, we already know the beaches are super important to us because it drives our whole economy. I mean, everything's about people accessing the water here and
Mhm.
visiting here for that reason, right? And then we're sitting, in that forest and whatever. Forest is loosely said, but
Right.
anyways, we have a lot of natural amenities already here that we need to keep in good shape, and it's already open public land to a point.
Yeah.
The beach is open.
Mhm.
So if there's interest in saying yes to that part of it, that's my ask for tonight.
Is it, you said it's no outlay of cash for us, but connecting with our staff, it sounds like would be part of it.
Mhm.
So that's where the lift would be. So I was wondering, do you potentially see that as a heavy lift for you all? If we said yes to this, would that be demanding on you all?
Hard to answer.
Right?
Don't really know what they're going to expect of us. If you're asking, would I recommend you say yes or no, I'd say yes.
Yeah, that
Chances
that
are
seems
we're
like it's-
already going to be working on a lot of these issues.
Yeah.
And so I don't think this is all new work. This is a different way to look at issues we've already identified.
Okay.
And we still get to decide how to spend our time in the future.
Mhm.
If this
Right.
isn't a priority to us a year from now, then we'll treat it that way, but I think it will be. So I'd recommend we keep going.
Yeah. Okay, just wanted to check that
Yeah.
box.
Yeah,
Appreciate
because
that.
Yeah.
you never know.
It's like
It takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I know at this point. Sometimes you get frustrated because, it's going to take forever, and all of a sudden, and we need to know by the 30th. And then you're not sure if you feel rushed, or you're like, because we're going on this.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, really?
So
Okay.
do you just need us to say, do we need to vote on this? Do we just say yes, or what do you need?
I don't know what they're really asking, other than, are we interested?
Yeah.
Oh,
That
Are we-
doesn't seem like a thing that requires an official action.
No.
Okay. I would.
So they need
yeah.
they need an approval, they
Mhm.
just don't go do the whole shoreline. You know what I'm saying?
I think
Like,
they
if
just
they
want to
went
know,
around-
are we interested, so they don't waste their time on people that aren't.
Right, but they're obviously did all the shoreline on the east side of Lake Michigan. Did they have consent from everybody, or they just go do all the shoreline? I mean, this
No,
is
I-
a National Fish and Wildlife, so are they like looking at,
It's the same thing. I mean, they're drawing the line simply because that's the area they cover, but I don't think they meant literally.
oh, okay.
And when you look at, which is hard to see, like most things, in these, for here, get my mouse there. See that you can't read it, but you can see those are the communities, the municipalities that participated
Okay,
in those line items
Yep.
and had a
Yep.
project in their area.
Mhm.
So it's truly, we're only talking about our city area. It's
Yeah.
not like we're gonna go up to Hoagland or something, with this, have any,
so they're talking about the city of Grand Marais proper?
right.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's good clarification,
In
thanks.
our land,
Yes,
and not
yeah.
the federal government that has land like Artist Point.
I don't know.
or?
I don't know unless they would do something with
We
that.
give approval for that.
Yeah, they'd have to go and seek that.
I don't know.
Okay.
That'd be a good once they assess what it really means here, those would probably be questions. Because the next piece for them, they really are asking then to meet with different people in the community. If you can, they
Okay.
want to know about our economic development, where does tourism lie? What
Yeah.
about our public parks? So we probably need to have a list of people to get them in contact with to see what the benefits are and issues are. I definitely want Elena Hansel at the table from Soil and Water. I've already sent this to her and asked her about it, and she's just a little short-staffed, imagine that. But she had interest in seeing, because I think stormwater mitigation is certainly, and Shane came too, he participated last week too, because this fits into, our climate action plan. So it, like Mike was saying, this kind of work could potentially help future work. Already some of the pieces that Shane has done in the past really help, like what our stormwater management plan,
Yeah.
help us already when we have to go out and work on specific projects. And I think will have the same effect,
Right.
getting prep work done.
And if they can connect us with other funding sources, that's great.
I think both help us understand the scope of the issues that we're dealing with, look at solutions that they've implemented in other places, and then figure out how to pay for it. All those things are useful.
Yeah, I'd like to spend more time on their website. You can see an example of some of the things that they did in Lake Michigan, depending on what the community, and Chicago, they've done work down in the city proper of Chicago. And it'd be neat to see what they've done or what the ideas were, or, implications of some. Because one thing when we met with all the landowners, that was what, April? It was late spring, May, I don't remember. But Elena kept cautioning us that, the answers might not be really, they're not simple for everyone over there, which it is kind of amazing. You don't pay attention, but till you do and look, and they showed pictures and talked about all the things they've had to do over there, each different landowner. Wow. It's really eaten up a lot of their land, and so I don't think there's some super simple solutions, and I think Elena was trying to make that point. So it would be nice if we could get some other engineering or thoughts. I mean, that's our whole thing. No one sitting here knows what we can do that's super helpful. And it's hard to think that you don't want each individual property owner to be stuck all the time trying to figure this out, which is what they're doing now. And it's costly for them. So if we can kind of get a coordinated concept, I don't know. It sounds like it could be helpful.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's worth going for.
Okay.
Sure.
so we're in agreement that this would be okay to proceed? Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I will send them an email and let them.
And where are they out of? Where do they operate out of, or where are they located?
I just went and.
We said National Fish and Wildlife, but somebody's executing this on behalf of them.
Right.
Okay.
The particular one for this one is, there we go, is that other projects have been,
Great Lakes in St. Louis.
yeah, so they've got Canadian and US. It's a joint,
Illinois.
so your mailbox is New Lenox, Illinois.
Okay.
But it's an international group. I guess it doesn't really matter much, I guess, to see. I didn't know if they'd say where they were located or working out of. Pierce ran the meeting on Monday, and I believe Zoe was in there as well. So. Our sponsors, let's see who that is. Santec, Mott Foundation, Crown Philanthropies. So there we go. But I can also if we didn't already, send a link to this website you can read as well. Because they do show you some of their projects and things they have going. They are also benefiting from the IRA as well. It's too bad they had to have the same acronym, IRA. You know,
Yeah.
retirement money and all this energy transformation.
Yes.
Couldn't you think of something different?
Come on, people.
Yeah.
Got all those letters.
They wanted to come up with something people were going to be excited about.
Or at least pay attention to.
Yeah, so, all right, that's that, and I will stop sharing, stop presenting. There we go.
No more sharing.
And kill the camera. All right. That leads us to council and staff reports so that we don't forget this week, which I do sometimes. Patrick, do you want to give the 5th Street report first?
Sure. Currently, they're working on painting and putting up signs on 5th Avenue. And it's going to be open for traffic on Friday at some point.
Great.
After that, they'll put in sod by the 30th and then be done until next spring if there's any recovery work they need to do.
Wow.
Gotcha.
I have to laugh. I was coming into town this afternoon and I watched some big car just turn right up the hillside and just go right on up the street. And I'm looking, did they move the sign? I get closer, nope. Still says road closed.
There's enough room.
Yeah, there really
I can't
is.
tell you how many times we've looked at the arm of that excavator and thought, can we get under that?
Yeah, I definitely went under that.
Oh, that was funny. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. very
that'd be
cool.
great.
Now let's hope those same kids don't come and spray some
I don't think I'll
tires
notice it
on
as much.
you.
Oh, they will.
Shouldn't have said that out loud.
Give them ideas.
Oh, Mike, did you have some things to get us caught up on?
I do not.
Nothing?
Wow.
All right. Craig?
No, I didn't have a meeting involving the city. We had the county meeting, but I don't know if we're gonna, if you,
Did that get published, by the way?
I couldn't find it. I looked.
The recording of it?
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I wanted to hear it.
well, Bennett asked me about it. He kind of wanted to listen to it, but I don't know what avenue to take to.
I'll
Let
get a
that
hold of
happen.
a recording of it if you want.
Yeah.
My understanding is it was recorded.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
my understanding too, so.
Well, I can send James an email too.
Yeah.
That's fine. I can see.
Yeah.
The city had posted it though, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. It's just the county didn't post it as far as open meeting goes.
Right.
Is
That's
that,
why
is that an
Stace-
issue for them?
What's
Yes,
That
it
an
was.
issue?
It was an issue for
Well,
them, I guess.
just because then Stacy wanted to participate, but then she couldn't because they didn't publish it.
Mhm.
So our posting doesn't qualify.
Nope.
Nope.
Not for them.
So that way,
Jeez.
So our posting doesn't qualify it as being an open meeting.
For them.
Well,
For
Just for you.
it does for us, and it
just
does
the
for the
city-
public.
Okay.
yes,
Yeah,
for
okay.
city.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you and I would not have been there.
Well, that's, I know that,
And
but
we
that's
were.
why I was wondering, yeah.
Their quorum.
It's a dual
Yeah.
meeting and both organizations had to post it.
Yes.
And we have to treat it as a public meeting for our purposes, which means if somebody wants to be there, they can be.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Unless there's some other reason, like that would be a quorum of the county board, and that's their issue, and they just have a
Right.
different understanding about it
Okay.
than we did.
That seems consistent, right? With no owl, no posting.
Oh, it's very clear right away.
Like they,
Their expectation of
Was
how it's gonna
different,
go is
yeah.
totally different than
Okay.
ours.
Yeah.
So it was disappointing, even though we officially made sure, there'd be 2 representatives to handle the main, like you
Yeah.
did, the main conversations. It was still, we all would have interest and potentially be there.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
only
we did-
bring, huh?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we determined that at the previous meeting,
Right.
that a lot of us was going to go to that first meeting, but I think that there might have been a slight misunderstanding on
Yeah.
that, maybe on their behalf, because,
That's what it seems like.
yeah. But,
And so the only reason I'm bringing it up now is Stacy was not the representative for the county officially.
Right.
That said, as our county commissioner, right, it would have been nice to have her there in that meeting.
Well, Dave is too.
Yes.
Right.
But as a city resident and, it'd
Right,
just
right,
been
right. No, I
nice
got
to
you.
have
Yeah,
them.
I'm just-
Right, you're right, Dave was there.
Dave does half and she's
Yeah,
half.
so,
about.
anyways.
well, yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, and she wanted to be there too. Was the
If I
thing.
want to
Yeah.
go down the road of summarizing the meeting or not, I don't think I'm going to, but I would like to know, we did set a date
Yeah,
for
the next meeting,
the next meeting,
which
When
is
is that?
the Thursday, the
which I'm
9th.
assuming is open to the public?
It is not.
It is
This is
not.
going to be closed and just a working meeting.
Okay.
So it'll just be the two, and then administrators and whoever else.
Okay.
Staff.
Gotcha.
Why is it closed?
Well, it's not technically closed. It's
No, I
a
think
working
technically
meeting.
it is.
What's that?
I think they prefer that it be,
Right, but I thought when we were talking about it at the meeting, like closed, there's a closed legal.
Thanks.
it's not a meeting that
It's
that
a work-
falls under the
I
open
see,
meeting law
yeah,
when there's
yeah.
not a quorum of the board present. So when we say closed, it means different things. The door will be closed and the public will not be invited.
Right.
That's the intention.
Yeah,
But it's not a closed meeting under the open meeting law because it's not actually an official meeting of the city council.
yeah.
So we could go to it.
No,
No, because then it would have to be an official meeting of the city council.
right. So this is where,
I'm so confused by that, because I thought we had cleared that up with, like, the first time that we met. that-
Oh, and
yeah, no, I'm not biting at
yeah,
anybody.
yeah, I'm just saying, like, I
We all said we
think
wanted to be present when possible.
right, and I think the idea here was, and I mean, it's not like, the idea was to have a smaller group to talk, just to get things moving. It's like,
Yeah.
obviously, the four of us can take no action, really. We're just having a discussion.
Sure.
And then we're gonna go back and present it to the group individually, I suppose, and then as a whole. But that's my understanding from talking to those guys, like what the thought is and where we would go, and I don't know. I'm not,
Well, I'm glad I was at the first meeting. That's all I got to say. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know what would have happened
well,
if,
I,
it was unfortunate. That's about all I can.
it was surprising to me, a little bit. Like, I mean, I had some ideas, but it wasn't what I thought we were gonna be doing.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Um,
So then, what's going to happen, okay, then let's get to what's going to happen after these meetings. So you have another meeting. It's closed. When do we get to find out what's getting discussed, or how does that information get back to the rest of us?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, we'll tell you right away.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's no, yeah, I mean, we're just there to make
There's
it.
no reason for any of it to be secret in my mind. Like,
Right.
it's
Well, I
a
didn't think
public
so.
conversant about public stuff.
And it's not to have it secret, I didn't
It's
think. I
just
thought
to
it
make
was
the conversation more manageable.
to go faster.
Okay.
Which I
Yeah.
understand,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that way it'll just, but it's, yeah,
All right,
it is what it is. We'll keep going.
well,
Okay.
I wish you all
Well, good luck.
And,
Well, thanks, guys.
no,
Is that that's 2 weeks from now, right?
It's, yeah, it
Not
was
next
further out.
Thursday, yeah, 2
I think we were
weeks.
trying to
Okay.
get it sooner, but nobody can make that work, so it
Okay.
ended up being the 9th.
Yeah, so 2 weeks. Okay.
No.
All right. Anything else, Craig?
No, I didn't have anything else.
Okay.
Nothing, we're gonna meet with North House on Tuesday.
What's
Yeah.
up? What's up
Just
then?
our, we haven't met in a while, we're just talking relationship and the work session with them, and circle back to.
Well, what we were talking about, were you guys talking about that?
Contract?
No,
that
I
won't be
don't
part of it?
think, well, I shouldn't say no, I don't know what's gonna be
Yeah.
talked about. I think that we were looking at some other municipalities and how those relationships work with other similar nonprofits and trying to figure out what our relationship we would like it to look like, all in an effort to sort of rescope and reframe, the lease, which is our
Yeah,
Right.
objective.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, so wanting to keep that in focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, because it feels like it's getting
It's kinda
off
dragging
on.
on.
Yeah, it's like taking a long time just
Well,
to
it
re-talk
it
about.
has, in fairness, we haven't met a lot, right? We've met twice. So we haven't really been there. There's been a couple of email exchanges. And I was really forthcoming in the last email exchange. I said, we need to bring this back to topic. Otherwise, we need to figure out what we're doing, right? So,
Yeah.
and in the meeting. So hopefully that's a priority or becomes one.
Yeah.
But if it isn't, I'll let you know that at the
Yeah.
next meeting, and you guys can decide, what you want us to do about that, if anything. Because we do need some direction from you guys, I think, too. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
but yes, things take a long time.
I guess, and it's good, the good thing you said that, because for some reason I was thinking you had many more meetings, not many, but more than 2.
No,
So-
it's only been the 2.
Do you go to their board
The
meetings?
Board meeting, yeah, but they haven't, I didn't go to, the last one,
Do they have monthly?
no, it's not monthly, it's,
Oh.
Must be quarterly, I
Yeah.
guess.
Quarterly,
and they're
okay.
longer.
Yeah, all right, that's good to know.
And there's one coming up, too.
Mhm. Cool, all right. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, thank you. Let's see. So on it was Wednesday, yesterday? Oh my gosh.
Don't ask.
Well,
I can't keep track.
I got the 2 of them confused. So we had a meeting earlier this summer. There was lots of conversation about, I'm not gonna bother to share, I've got pictures I could show you. Brought to our attention, and we did a little walk through town about what does it look like, our landscaping in Harbor Park, the whole deal, what happened on Highway 61, whatever, right? We agreed to wait till quiet time to meet and talk about it and what could we do. So that's what we did on Tuesday? I don't know which was Monday or Tuesday.
And who was meeting? Who's
And this was Lenny and Dave Tierstig
Uh-huh.
and Mike and myself and Linda representing the chamber and the Downtown Business Business Coalition?
That was Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah. And then Patrick was there as well. So what we decided from that as next steps is we would we talked about one of the things we need to decide out of this, first of all, is what kind of standards, so then we know what action we can take. And whatever standards, they have to be amenable to the rest of the business or property owners down here. What does everyone think is how we should look? And we decided that in scope is really just public property, right? We're not going to be setting up some policies or things that look
Right.
at private business owners or a private landowner and say, hey, this doesn't look good. Like, we're not going there. And then we determined what the scope was, so our parks, our boulevards, the library, any of these rain gardens, and then what kind of landscaping parts were we talking about? Because like Dave mentioned, are we talking also about buildings or lighting or whatever? No, trees, shrubs, what do our sidewalks and curbs look like, any weeds, whatever, or any kind of like flower baskets. And then what our considerations were, so cost, staffing, the actual logistics of doing the work, everyone's expectations, whether it be the landowners or our public, and environmental impacts to whatever actions we take, invasive species, which we had that tansy problem, and then effects on that. So for next steps, we're gonna put together some polling to talk, because this will totally be Highway 61 and down. We're not talking about the residential part of the community. It's really the downtown landscape and over to the lake. And want to talk to all those different downtown property owners, get a feel for what they are thinking. And we'll customize, it's going to be a broad, like, hey, we're going to get this fine-tuned, and then have something a little bit different, but we also want to ask the actual residents, what are you thinking and what's your thoughts, and we'll narrow that down. We'll look at eventually what kind of plan options there are, and we also made a list of possible places for assistance for any kind of plans that require action, like literal work, what our sources are. So we put together a list of that as well, and possible ways to do that. So that's our plan with that. Then we also did a review with the Lions Club, and that was really kind of neat to hear how that came through. We just did a kind of how's it going, and we gotta pull that up so I can remember what we did. It pop up? Oh, there we go. We brought Pat Eliason came, Lenny came again, Dave Tierstig came, Mike and I, and Linda Jurek again, right? Am I missing anyone? No.
Lions Club people.
Yeah, and then Lions Club came too. But it was really, I don't know, I learned some things. I mean, I won't go into lots of details, but because we're in a lot of details, but Pat said it was really very good. No real big incidents at all for law enforcement. He likes the way we're blocking off the street for access. It's great for the EMS. And both he and Dave basically said that in the past, the bigger calls and things that created issues were the baseball tournaments. Softball, sorry. Softball. Yeah,
Really?
I have softball in here. That really is what created the most issues, either because of literal balls hitting and crashing around in the park and causing damage to trailers and vehicles, and then all the traffic and noise and partying issues between the two locations for the softball tournaments. But otherwise, it's been very quiet that way for them. So that's all law enforcement standpoint going well. He did make a suggestion, possibly if the Lions Club would want to have Narcan training and availability. And he also urged that blocking was done for the streets ASAP, because it's a lot easier to have it cleared than to try to do it later and have to move a car. Street department, same thing, without late night activities such as a super late street dance, which we haven't had in years. It's a lot easier. I didn't know that they clean the streets literally every morning, like by 5 a.m. I didn't know that. So he said all that's better. It's been less staff for them. They do have some issues with their dumpster plan, and certain vendors not following it, vehicles. There is an issue which we've heard outside of Fisherman's Picnic, which Dave also mentioned as well, but this sort of illuminates it, is camping and overnights along here, and then of course in the main parking lot on the way to the Coast Guard station, but that's not just Fisherman's Picnic driven. That's just a summer issue.
Yeah.
Dave said same thing. Everything else went really well. Other than that, he thinks their garbage plan, along with the work they do with North Shore Waste, has gone very well. And the downtown business group, same thing. Renewed energy with new Lions Club members. Scheduling went well. The parade, the music, all was good. And just some consideration to blocking off streets and the one-ways and the alleys and all of that we need to think about. And one really good point is asking vendors to no longer have all those fun little kid things that are really messy, like silly string, because environmentally they're bad and they're hard to clean up and they just more work. So that was the rundown of that. Maybe that was more than you wanted to hear, but it was nice to have it done. The Lions Club is going to do a lot more planning this year earlier, so that was super helpful for them. Then we looked at the coastal initiatives. Tomorrow is before the Fall Gala, if any of you are planning to attend. Before that is the legislative groups will be meeting and will be going around at different locations. I think I put my list away, and having meetings in the afternoon, and
Wait,
then they'll
who's
all
this?
go to the
What's
gala.
this?
So the Fall Gala always includes, the Chamber Fall Gala always includes various state level legislative members. So Hochschild will be here, Roger Scraba,
Okay.
Ida Rukavina. Who am I missing? Well, representatives for Tina Smith and Amy Klobuchar will be here as well. They
Okay.
participate.
Is
And-
that the IRRB? Is that?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it is IRRB. So they'll be doing tours during the day and just getting updates on, our HRA initiatives, our business park, all of the work that North Shore Waste is doing, the Coast Guard station. I think that's all the places I can see they're going. So there's a bunch of us here for that. Let's see what I missed. So anyways, that happens tomorrow afternoon. Our relief grant for the tree planting, we were awarded money for creating our management plan and for taking the inventory of all of our trees, but we weren't awarded the dollars to actually take away trees and plant new trees. So we said yes to what we got, and we'll get all those plans in place, and maybe then another time when that's going, then we can reapply again and ask for that other portion of it. But we'll take that part because we have, not only is that the money covered, but they also provide the expertise to get all that done. So that's sort of a no-brainer. Mayor for the day, I met with both schools. They're on board. We just have to figure out what we want to do locally, and so that should be kind of fun. And Callie from the radio is super excited to participate and do stuff with the kids.
Great.
Our Cook County Outreach e-newsletter is just about ready to go. We presented it at our joint meeting and got lots of positive comments to that. So Patrick's going to do the last few things. I've got to go meet with the townships to introduce it, and we're going to get it started anyways and get an issue out the door. And let's see, and now I feel bad because I didn't open it up. We did have an EDA meeting last week, so apologize for just a minute. If I pull up the agenda, I will remember everything. We just voted on a couple things. It was so well organized, Teresa. It's already on top of a lot of things, so it was fairly straightforward. We approved a few things, and I don't think there was... Jason gave another update on housing, but I don't think there was a whole lot there. They're asking for their other $50,000. Remember, there were some budgeting issues at the beginning of the year. So now they're requesting their other $50,000 for the HRA. Some procedural things behind the scenes. The only other thing that she passed out, which I think is of interest to us, and that is they may potentially be working with the development from Joel St. John of all the lots that he has bought down here. And there's some considerations there. I need to talk to Teresa and get more information, but I think that's the one thing that we will have a lot of interest in. So as soon as I find out more, I'll bring the rest of that in, because there was even conversation of potential TIFs with that, and I think that's a really big conversation piece for the city council.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, among other things. So as soon as I get more info on that, I'll let you know. I think that was it for the EDA and the
Wait a minute, that's it?
No way. I mean, we can go home.
But wait, there's more.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm here.
I didn't let you
I
go
know.
first. I'm
You did.
sorry.
It's okay. I only had one meeting. It was the ARDC, the Arrowhead Regional Development Commission. And mostly it was just housekeeping, things they needed to have people vote on. But I did look for anything that was more us-centered. And one of the things that they do is they handled like all the CARES funding and getting those out the door. And we had a number of people in our region that received those. So we had Voyager was one of them. Well, I guess Fika, but they're not really in town. But also the new laundry, North Shore Laundry also got some of those funds as well. Yeah, and they have one new initiative that they're working on with the Superior Hiking Trail, which I know doesn't really come right into town or anything, but it's there that they're working on, and that's having it. What is it they're calling it? Healthy aging accessibility or something along those lines. So like looking at what areas of the Superior Hiking Trail are either close to or are accessible for people who may not have complete mobility. And then also continuing, they partner with and help fund, or help connect with funding the Kichigami Trail. So connecting with those folks as the trail goes further on. So there's a few of the things they voted on.
Well,
And that was that.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything? Well, everybody's like, oh yeah, can we go? Chris is like, oh my God, are you guys done yet? All right, that's it. Thank you.
I think we should stay longer.
Oh.
Good
Yeah.
night, Chris.
Yeah.
How about you stay? You stay. We'll see you next time.
We're the ones next door to the liquor store, not Chris.
Right.
It's
And-
closed.
Oh, it
You don't think
is?
we can get through that door?
We can get through that door right there.
Pretty sure we
Sorry.
can.
Thank you.